You are listening to the Doc Malik podcast. This show is 100% independent and fully funded by listeners like yourself. So, if you wish to support Ahmed in all that he is doing, then please subscribe to his channel on Spotify or his Substack. Or simply buy him a coffee with a one-off donation, links to which can be found at docmalik.com. Now, let's get on with the show.
Right, you were saying you don't want to be formal. What do you want to be?
No, like it's just more of a relaxed exchange, right? I don't want to like, okay, let's tell the news, let's go. No. Hello, world. Welcome to. I was just kidding. Just kidding.
No, take over. Just take over the show.
No. It's your show, Doc. It's your show. It's great to meet you, by the way.
Yeah, I've never met you before. I don't know who you are. It's great to see you. Yeah, you're looking great, mighty fine. But listen, I was just talking to you a bit off air, like the fact that sometimes you get guests, and it's like, say something. Like, otherwise I have to say something, and people don't like necessarily are watching. They're sometimes listening, so they just think I keep interrupting, but it's not, because I just don't like awkward pauses. And like I had a guest, and she'd be like, and that's the way it is, and then it's silence.
Yeah, I think you and I, though, we are used to interviewing, especially post-COVID, and through the rollout of Operation Warp Speed and the poison shots. So much of the discourse was medical and scientific and philosophical, and there were so many people with huge brains that were now in, they aren't broadcasters. They aren't presenters. They're not trained in journalism. And so they would come on, and they're brilliant, but I would constantly have to interrupt to explain or to package, right? Because I'm a communicator. And so I feel like my job is to take these highly complex things, political, sociological, geographical, whatever, and package them up in bite-sized pieces so that people can understand. And it really is a craft. It's something that I've realized over time. I started out in radio, television, and billboard in marketing and advertising. So I was a copywriter. I was writing commercials. I was taking, a $10 million company and summing up, the essence of that company on a 10-word billboard. So that's just natural to me to like just pare it down. So it's in its simplest form so that people can understand it. And the types of guests that we were having to filter information through are just not set up to do that. So it does make for awkward exchanges and awkward pauses and all the things. But it's the nature of our job. It's what we do, and you're kind of both, because you're both a clinician, a physician, and also a presenter, but you do them all amazingly. I'm a big fan, by the way, of all of your work. So thanks for having me on.
Oh, thank you so much. Right, stop it. I'm going to get a big head. But you said these guests of yours have got big brains. I think you got bigger brains, like getting complex issues and making it so it's easily understood takes a lot of work. And that's an art and a skill that a lot of people don't have. And that's the thing. You need to be a good communicator. I was speaking to this doctor who's been punished by one of the medical councils, and I rang him just to have a chat and get him on the show, which we've done. And I was like, so tell me what happened to you. And it was just so disjointed. And the problem is a lot of these people just assume that you know what they're talking about.
Yes.
And I'm like, dude, you've just jumped 2 years. Like, what happened in between? And,
right.
I'm sorry. And I had to keep asking questions. I was like, I'm really sorry if it sounds like an interrogation, but I don't have a timeline. I do not have a clear understanding of what has happened to you. And I know it's clear in your head and you've been living through it for the last 3 years, but don't assume I know anything. And right now it's so disjointed. And you have to kind of like weave together all the different parts and all the different chronological orders to then present the story. And then your job is to then get that guest to repeat it in front of an audience in a way that they will understand and make sense and is interesting and is relevant. That's the job of the communicator.
Absolutely. And it's really, at its essence, it is storytelling. And that's what I always try to remind myself, is that you're trying to tell a story. And on an average news day with a 24-hour news cycle, that is like a fire hose in your face every day, right? You have to start the story and end the story 4 or 5 times in one show. And then the next day, the story completely changes because they've changed the paradigm or reinvented a word, right? So the people that we are up against have so much power and so much time and so much money. And they're constantly moving the Overton window. They're moving the paradigm. They're changing definitions. And so as purveyors of truth, people who want to tell the people the truth, you have to deal with their lies, their false constructs, their redefinition of words, which is moving very quickly. And I think this is the evidence of this is that 24-hour news cycle where a professional like myself or like you, I will go in on a news morning and try to figure out, what are the most important things to talk about to my audience. And it's just relentless. And the cycle moves faster and faster. And so I would say to myself, listen, I do this professionally, 9 hours a day, 5 days a week. And I can't, it's like sand through my fingers. I can't grab on to, at times, those truth narratives. It's always a search. It's always, thinking and turning it over and, looking back at my experience and looking for patterns and trying to, but very often I will come to my audience and say, I don't know what the fuck is going on. Pardon my French. Like, I don't know what to tell you. This thing meant this yesterday and now it means something different. Donald Trump hated, he loved vaccines one day. Now he hates vaccines. You know what I mean? Like it's too fast for people to comprehend. And so that's, I think, why the public is so confused and so vulnerable and susceptible to mass indoctrination, manipulation, and this sophisticated propaganda that is not only using radio, television, billboard now, they are also using very highly sophisticated algorithms and programs and AI to pinpoint each individual target, understand exactly how you feel, how you tick, what you think, what your history is, what you like, what you dislike, and then they tailor these highly manipulative messages to you personally. And so any layperson trying to grapple with that is going to be overwhelmed, confused, confounded, and befuddled. And that's the nature of media today. The clue to that, though, is that it's a lie. That's how you know confusion and chaos and this rapidly changing type of situation. That is evidence of a great lie. And I mean, you can think of quick change artists or, people who are petty thieves, who are very good at distracting and confusing and making you listen to this. And all of a sudden your wallet is out of your back pocket and they're down the street, right? It's the exact same concept, only highly sophisticated and being deployed purposefully by very powerful people and impacting everything: health, education, politics, geopolitics, finance, money, you name it. It's all there. So it's a tough job we have right now, for sure.
This is why I love you. Look at it. What an amazing little wee tirade there. Excellent. I love it. This is Shannon. Like, you just go for it. I mean, you've nailed it. And you made so many good points. But like, can I give you some tips, by the way, about how you could make your podcast 10 times bigger and more successful? And
please. I need all the help I can get.
All right. Okay. You know that lovely red top you've got?
Yes.
You need to put MAGA on it, or I love Trump. And, you need to be like a proper evangelical Christian Zionist, and you need to keep telling people how bad the Muslims are, and how much you love Bobby. You know it. You know where the money is. Those are the money pots, baby. Those are the money pots. What can I say? Listen, I decided not to get on the Trump train 12 years ago. The day he came down the elevator, I'm from New York. I'm a New Yorker. And I said, this guy is a fraud. He's a shyster. He's a con man. He's not a Republican. He's a New York City liberal Democrat. If you know anything about New York politics, it's the mafia. It's a mob. It's the most corrupt political geographic location likely on the planet. There are probably a few others. And so I was a right-wing
talk radio host at the time, AM. Okay. So it was MAGA baby all the way, MAGA country. And I was invited to attend to meet Trump. It was before he was elected, and get on the bus and go down to Washington, D.C. and, get on the train, so to speak. And I didn't. I'm like, hell no, there's no way I'm aligning with this guy. And it wasn't for altruistic reasons. I didn't think that he was going to be president 2 terms. I didn't think we would be talking about him 10 years later. It was for selfish reasons. I didn't think he was going to win. Right. And I look back and I'm like, wow, if I had known that would have been the power seat, that I maybe could have been wealthy beyond my wildest dreams, right? Because that's how you can get wealthy in this business. If you are willing to read the teleprompter and read the script and say what you're told to say. And sometimes it's not even saying what you're told to say. It's saying everything you want to say, but not the 2 most important things that need to be said at a certain moment, right? And that's, I think, the nature of the media corruption. It's not that every time Tucker Carlson comes in front of you and says 99 truths, right? That he's lying to you. He's not. He believes those 99 truths. But on the one day when one truth needs to be spoken to his massive audience, that's the day that he steps back and doesn't speak that truth. And,
Bingo.
And, it's very, Tucker Carlson, and I like Tucker Carlson.
Me too.
The good news about what you and I are doing right now is that the culture is pushing people like Tucker Carlson to say things that have now become obvious truths, right? So we're having vaccine discussions in the United States of America, not because these people want to talk about it, but because we're shoving it in their faces relentlessly, and the culture is pushing back. And so, Tucker Carlson is a great case study, though, because, he was very critical in March of 2020 in convincing Donald Trump to lock down America. In fact, he went to Mar-a-Lago personally, met with the president for 3 or 4 hours. I think it was late March. I forget or maybe it was early March, but it was just a couple days before Donald Trump issued the nationwide lockdown. And he advocated to Trump, you need to lock down. We're dealing with the worst pandemic ever. And that was Tucker Carlson. He was highly influential in pushing the president into the disaster that was the lockdowns of 2020, which led to the democide of 2021 and the mass poisoning with the COVID bioweapons in 21, 22, and 23, and even to this day. So Donald Trump set all of that in motion, and Tucker Carlson was critical in influencing to do that. 6 months later, Tucker reads the culture, the storyline changes, and people are revolting against this. So then he has to now move to where his audience is moving. But that just goes to show on that one day, I knew it was a hoax. How did I know? How did I know from my tiny little corner of the world, broadcasting out of my kitchen at the time because I was thrown out of my iHeartRadio studio because of the lockdowns? So how did we know from the very beginning that something was wrong and they didn't, right?
Okay.
I'm not that smart. I'm really not that smart.
But devil's advocate, listen, I was in a bad place mentally at the beginning of 2020. I'd just come out the Brexit campaign. I was bruised and battered. I'll be honest with you, I fell for the COVID pandemic thing for the first 4 weeks. I fell for it. I woke up after 4 weeks, but I fell for it. What I'm trying to say is I do know a lot of smart people who fell for it for various different reasons. So it could be, Tucker's is confusing because you just don't know. He's got the CIA background, or his dad was, or something. He was in part of the establishment. And, could it be that he just got it wrong and made mistakes?
Yes.
But then Margaret Ann Alice says mistakes were not made. I agree with her. But recently he surprised me because he's had Richard Werner on, The Economist, who's really smashed open the whole financial economic BS, the fiat money system, the Bank of International Settlements, the money creation system. I mean, he has talked about something that no one ever talks about, which was amazing. He's hosted people like Catherine Austin Fitz and Mary Talley
Absolutely.
Bowden. So you're doing great work.
Absolutely.
But then I saw something recently where I was like, exactly what you just said, 99 truths and then one truth you hold back. 9/11, I don't think he really goes there. I don't think he really says like this was a complete false flag and our agencies are behind it. Am I wrong about that?
Well, what we're delving into now is complexity of characters, and that there's no one answer. I as a presenter, I have largely, for the most part, unless it's glaringly obvious, withheld from deciding about characters. Tucker Carlson is in the CIA. So-and-so, Whitney Webb is in the CIA, or making people have parents. Their parents are their parents. Some people can't help who their parents are. And even within intelligence, whether it's Mossad or CIA or whatever these intelligence operations are, there are different levels of involvement. There are assets, there are agents, there are unwitting assets. I mean, there are people that they use and those people don't even know they're being used.
Yeah.
I have certainly gotten the very distinct sense multiple times in the last 5 years that there were attempts to influence me, and that there were, and it's never outright. It's never, if you don't say this is going to happen to you. But there are soft influence campaigns that people can be susceptible to. There could also be very true, real beliefs and just honest disagreements on things. I recently had a discussion with a listener, viewer, that was very angry with me for not doing more on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and taking a firm position on pro-Israel or pro-Palestinian. And what I said to them was that, this is a topic that I am very closely paying attention to. I have changed a lot of my opinions about the government of Israel. I believe that Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal. I believe that they engage in false flag operations. I believe that they engage in influence operations. I believe that the Israeli lobby is way too prevalent and powerful in the United States of America, and they have influenced a vast majority of our politicians, many judges, many bureaucrats, and this has been going on for quite some time. There's a lot of evidence that Jeffrey Epstein, that entire scandal, was tied up in some ways with Israeli intelligence, and that is leading to some of the bad decisions that we're seeing today. So there are things that I have seen, that I have witnessed, and I have observed that make me very highly critical of the Israeli government. We could go back 50 years and say, should that state ever have been created? And, parse that. I've seen that type of coverage. Well, let's go back to 1672, or let's go back to 800 BC and try to figure out, do they deserve a sliver of land in that region? A lot of people like to do that. The nerds and, the history buffs love to have those conversations. They can go on for hours about it. Is that going to help us get anywhere? Right. And so it's a highly complicated situation. I've also come to be much more sympathetic to the plight of the Palestinians and those who are in Gaza and West Bank. And I'm very concerned about what we're seeing right now happening in the Middle East. And I am very, very open to the possibility that a genocide is being committed. However, I also know that the pro-Palestinian cause with the flags and the protests and the narratives, it's also heavily moneyed. There is a lot of money behind the pro-Palestine. And you can see it in just the professionalism of the parades and the marches and the propaganda, right? So here's my problem, because this guy's like, you need to come down and have a position on this. And I said, here's my problem. Right now, number one, I don't speak the language. Number two, I'm not on the ground. Number three, I haven't followed this my entire life. I don't know all of the intricacies of what happened. I don't know that any layperson could. I know that there are influencers like me who were paid money to read scripts about what they think about Israel and Palestine. I can spot that a mile away. I also know that there's a lot of money on the other side. I know there's Bitcoin money out there that is funding certain, and they're heavy into the digital currencies, right? So there are all these money pots, going back to what we were first saying about the money pot. There's a Palestinian money pot too. And so at this point, as I'm observing, honest to God, I'm not sure yet where I'm on it. I don't fully trust. I think I'm leaning towards something is very, very troubling is happening in Gaza, and I'm very concerned about it. And I welcome people on my show. I've had Catherine Austin Fitz on my show. She's an outspoken, critic of what is happening. I have had Thomas Massey on my show. I would have anyone, Last American Vagabond, Ryan Christian, like people, you, for example, I'd have you on to talk about it and get your positions. I'm just not yet convinced myself. And that's the only organic way to be a presenter. Like, I have to be able to come to my audience sometimes and say, I don't know. I'm confused by this. And I don't know that we're getting the best information, but I do know, one of the things I'm famous for here in the United States of America is refusing to take up the left or the right. I don't choose sides. And I especially don't choose sides when people come at me with with a hammer and say, you need to choose a side. That's when I'm going to say, hold on, slow down. There's another story here.
Shannon, can I tell you something?
Yes.
This is why I love you.
Oh.
You'd be surprised, maybe, or maybe not, to know I share your exact same view.
Really?
So I'm 100%. So what I mean by that is I really disagree with what Israel is doing in Palestine. And I do think it's a colonial venture. White Europeans have taken over land. Nothing exceptional about the Jews. Every conquering colonial nation has done what they've done, which is other the people who already live there, say that there was never anybody there, say that they're backward and barbaric, and that, what God told them that this was their land. It's the same playbook everywhere. Like, there's nothing special about the Jews, about what they're doing, right? But you know what? History is history. It's happened now. They're there. And the answer is not to just say, get rid of all the Jews now from Israel.
Right.
That's bullshit. My solution is very simple. You just have one country that's not religious, not ethnic based, but it's for all the people in that area, and they all live happily, the Christians, the Jews, the Muslims, and you have a very, very small government. Very small government.
That's it.
That's it. Decentralized. And that's it. It's that simple. It's not that complicated. And people go, but we can't live together. No, yes, they can. But anyway, park that aside. I think also what Israel is doing right now is wrong. And I think October 7th was either allowed to happen or engineered to happen, like the most secure border ever, like suddenly just switched off. People went walkabouts for 6 hours. I mean, it's all bullshit. It just doesn't make sense. However, the amount of coverage that we're getting, the devastation, the destruction, like, you don't see any of that coming out of Ukraine. You don't see anything, all the cities in the Donbass being bombed and the people being maimed there, and and the Russians and how they suffered. Like, there's a complete media blackout. We don't really know what's going on in Russia and Ukraine. Yeah. Why are we suddenly able to see everything that's going on in Palestine and it's in our face? Why are they even allowing us to document and have outrage? And I feel like any time on the news, on the airwaves, your heartstrings are being pulled, or you're being made to feel angry, or hatred, or just frustrated or helpless or hopeless, do you know what? You're being manipulated.
That's an op.
So that's an op.
100%. That's a sign.
So I just think the evil bastards out there actually don't give a fuck about Palestinians, Jews, Christians, Muslims, or anybody. Like, everybody is expendable and disposable. We are just cannon fodder. And they play always both sides. They're so fucking devious. They play both sides. And they could literally, the same people could be supporting the IDF, Israel, to do what they're doing in Gaza. And the same people will be funding the outrage and the fear and the atrocity porn and getting us all riled up and feeling helpless. Because what they want is us all in a state of angst, conflict, hatred, division, fighting, arguing. and all the time distracted by really what they want to fucking do.
You nailed it.
And I think this is why I don't stand by Hamas and I don't stand by one group, but I think there's a lot of wrong being done by Israel. And I actually think if you're a friend of Israel, you would tell them you're fucking fucked up right now. That's not right what you're doing. And actually what you're doing is destroying your nation and your soul. And I think they've done a good job of that. I think 80% of people who now in Israel say it's perfectly fine to eradicate every Gaza Palestinian, like that just shows you how their soul is dead now. They've destroyed themselves. So, you know, everyone's being harmed, actually. Everyone is being harmed there. Even though Israel might have the power, psychologically and generationally, they're going to suffer for what they're doing right now. Right. And I think the evil ones don't care. This is going into their playbook. They always come on top. They fund and support both sides, and they will always be on top. And I just want to hold back and not jump in and go, oh yeah, and it's all Israel and fucking Jews and fucking Israelis. Right. You know what? You're falling for it then. Yeah. You need to understand they're being manipulated. Like if you think like Netanyahu, our friend Bibi, is actually the guy in charge, like you're totally deluded. Like he has a master or masters. Absolutely. He is an actor just like Trump is, like all the other politicians. He's reading off the script. Yeah. And he has a role to play. And it might be Netanyahu or whatever, but he is an actor. So absolutely. Are we not on the same page?
100%. And I'll even expand on that because you were talking about how, it's just the fact that they're actors, right? And that, we're being constantly manipulated. And I just lost my train of thought. What did you say right before? Because it was something good. Right before you talked about Netanyahu being an actor. Oh, I have my theme. Here it is. So this is what it is. A clue for the audience, right? Because what are we trying to do here? We're trying to discern, right? Most people want to live a quiet life. They want to fall in love. They want to get married. They want to have children, have a little property, practice their vocation, work hard, right? There are deadbeats out there, but I think most, even the deadbeats, you would say they want something like that, right? Maybe they don't have the discipline or they have all these extenuating circumstances that bring them to where they are. But in general, people are not malignant sociopathic narcissists who want to dominate, right? But as people, we need to understand that sociopathic, narcissistic, malignant, villains are out there. They exist. And if we are not resisting them on a constant basis, they are going to figure out, they're going to maneuver to positions of power. And then they will install themselves in positions of power. And then they will expand that power through corruption and greed and murder and fraud and all those things. And so this idea as we the people, that our government cares about us, that politicians care about us, we have to throw that into the waste bin of history and never say those words again, right? They are not to be trusted, ever. None of them. Anyone angling for power. And they're going to get power. But that doesn't mean that we have to give them legitimacy, authority, or that power. We might have government systems and we abide within those systems and obey just laws. We're compelled to disobey unjust laws. But, I think the first step is understanding that these types of people exist. And then when we're trying to figure things out, you will know them by their fruit, right? Mm-hmm. We do not have to go in and waste a minute thinking about why Donald Trump did this, or why Benjamin Netanyahu did this, or who is influencing them, or what is the mechanism. All we can say, like the Israel thing, When Benjamin Netanyahu sold the nation of Israel, his own people, every man, woman, and child, to Pfizer in a contract where he handed them over as a human experiments during the dark days of COVID, when he rolled out the most draconian, disgusting, tyrannical lockdown protocols, masking protocols, and vaccine protocols, it was very evident from that moment that he is very, very comfortable with shedding blood of his own people. And you can say the same thing about Trump, and you can say the same thing about Trudeau, and you can say the same thing about every Western leader that sacrificed their people. We have evidence of it. I lived it. You lived it. We saw it with our own eyes. So in the case of Gaza versus Israel, there isn't something clear there for me to come in and say, but when I see a truth, my audience knows that I will take a side, and I will take a side hard, and I'll go at it relentlessly. And the side that I'm always looking for is the side of truth. That's what I'm looking for. And I think because I am completely independent, I don't have a boss. I've cobbled together my platform on my own through self-syndication and also hustling. I'm a business person, so I find advertisers, I bring them in. It's the harder way to do this, but it allows me, I think more than most, to find those truths as best I can and then just hammer them. And that's why my show sounds so different than other shows. So then going back to Tucker Carlson, right, as we bring it full circle, I believe that there are things that he cannot say. That's what I would say I believe. I would believe that he is straitjacketed in a way. He can say a lot of things that we know to be true, but there are rules for him. And that doesn't make him a bad person. It doesn't make him a CIA asset. It doesn't make him an evil purveyor of this, because I see that. We want to make determinations about people. It just means that he can only do so much. And I would say the same for Donald Trump. And I would say the same for Netanyahu, right? They can do some things, but they can't do everything. I would say that observing the two of them, I very easily can put them in a villain category, just like that, easy as pie. I think they're villains, right? But it's nuanced. And I would urge, if I'm confusing people with all this, I would urge the audience, accept simple truths. We make this way more complicated than it has to be, because people will reveal themselves.
What do you think? What do you think Tucker is not allowed to talk about?
Well, it's interesting. What is he not allowed to talk about? I would say the biggest lie that they want to protect is the two-party political paradigm, that there are two opposing parties. Mm-hmm. And I think that is the name who shall not be named, or whatever, that, the Harry Potter. They want to play independent right now, right? Because everyone's, the election's over and everything's muddled and confusing, and the people are sensing that the two parties are corrupt. Absolutely corrupt. They are on the same team. It is not like, wow, one's a lesser of two evil. No, they are equally evil, and they work together to maintain a power. It's a power sharing operation that has been in place in this country for probably 60 years, maybe more, 50, 60 years. And so you have your Russell Brands and your Candace Owens and your Tucker Carlsons and, whatever variation, of those highly platformed and elevated, right? You can tell they've got big staffs working for them. Okay. So they're going to play as independents and, I'm not going to, and every so often they'll go across the fence to the other side and say, I'm going to stand with this person. Right. And it's very confusing. What you'll see if you observe for a long enough period of time is that only happens in off election years. Once you move closer and closer to an election, and then the lines get drawn, and then you have the D's and the R's, every single one of them, every time, will then go into the blue banner or the red banner, and they will annihilate people who will not take up those banners. And that has happened to me I lose half my friends, Doc, every election cycle. Every election cycle, I lose because everyone gets drawn in, and I have consistently refused to pick a side. I vote. I go in, I vote. I go into the voting booth. I don't tell people who I vote for because I don't do that. I might stop voting. I think I'm going to stop voting. I think that I might very publicly stop voting.
I vote, and I publicly make a point of saying that I've spoilt the ballot paper, because that's a protest vote.
Yeah,
I'm making a point of saying I don't fucking accept any of you.
Right.
So listen, I'm on page with you. I think the biggest illusion is this idea that we have choice and that democracy is a real thing, which is so laughable, because we go to war abroad against the bad people and regime change and overthrow dictators to bring in democracy as if we have it.
Right.
It's like, I'm going to go to my neighbor's house and cook them up a steak when actually I'm a fucking vegan at home. It's like, what the hell, man?
No. And even democracy is bastardized. The United States of America is not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic with 3 branches of government at the federal level and robust local power and state power. That's what the United States of America is. Democracy is 2 wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner. That's what democracy is. It's not even, it's the worst. The framers of the Constitution of the United States of America hated democracy, hated it. And so they've taken a term, and we have elements of democratic principles embedded into our framing documents, but our founding documents, but we are absolutely not a democracy. And we're absolutely not, expanding concepts and principles of freedom and limited government. We never talk about limited government. There's never a bottom-up local solution. It is always a massive top-down, in-your-face, boot on your neck solution from both parties. And I will tell you, Doc, this 2-party political fake-ass system that they shove at us, it's so interesting. I'll watch. It's great now. I love technology in the sense that you and I are connected from across the pond. And I can watch presenters from Thailand and Singapore and Vietnam and Brazil and get little snippets of how their politics works, right? And it's the same scam in every country. Yeah. They have exported that to 2-party, choices. They always want you to make false choices. I think that's the theme of our discussion today, Doc, is false choices. And really conditioning our minds and our spirits to know the second they try to make you choose, that is the second that you should say, I'm not choosing. I'm going to wait. I'm going to sit back and I'm going to wait and I'm going to watch. You have to get the vaccine or else you hate your, society and your grandmother, right? You can't come out of lockdown unless you get your vaccine. And the lesser of 2 evils, if you practice the lesser of 2 evils in political cycles for a long enough period of time, you end up with just plain evil because it descends. You get I've got
another one. I've got another one, by the way. You're either with us, Israel, or you're with Hamas.
Nope. Fuck you. How about that?
Right.
Is that our soundbite?
Yeah, but the democracy, I don't want to move away from that. That's such a dangerous tool, and they don't want to talk about that because, I believe that we should be all voting for policies, not politicians or political parties. Right. And actually, people talk about the American Constitution being amazing. I don't think it is. Because if it was amazing, America wouldn't be in the shithole that it's in right now. The reality was the Constitution was designed to limit federal power and stop the centralization of power. It was actually meant to be individual states that are the most powerful in the thing. So, the whole point of the Constitution was to hold the federal power in check. Well, look at the results. You just said, judge by the fruits of their labor. Well, judge the fruits of the Constitution. Where are we now? We're at the point where, the president of America has taken America to war basically like 50 times without any congressional approval, even though that's meant to be in the Constitution. What I'm trying to say is it's so centralized. It's so federalized, the concentration of power. It's so corrupt. It is an abomination. And if that is not what the Constitution was meant to be. That was not what the Republic of America was meant to be. America as it is today is not what the founding fathers wanted it to be. So the Constitution failed to maintain what it was meant to be. It's now become this monster. And then the military industrial complex and the bankers go around selling wars around the world on the justification that they're bringing democracy, the one they don't even have, or is a sham, or is a fake ass illusion. So that, every 4 years, what they're basically pacifying the masses with is, look, you don't like the government right now, you don't like us politicians, don't worry. Guess what? In 4 years' time, when you vote harder and better, you're going to get a new team in and they'll fix it. And it's like, really? And every 4 years we fall for it. And all the politicians say the same thing. There's a great clip on Barnum's World, and everybody's listening should watch it. It's on YouTube. It's free, where all these politicians from Democrats and Republicans are saying the same soundbites. Come out and vote. We will make a difference. And even the statement, make America great again. Guess what? People have been saying this for over 20 years. Now, in the UK, we've got a third party suddenly popped up, by the way. It's called the Reform Party, led by Nigel Farage. And I think what's happened is, I think the powers here have realized that people are wisening up to the fact that we fucking can't stand Labour. So Labour have a majority with, I can't remember what it is, but something like 20% or less of the electorate. Like, they've got a landslide victory, but hardly anybody voted for them. Like, it's not even a minority. It's a minority of a minority. It's tiny. But because of the stupid ass party system, they're in power. And like the Conservatives, they're bringing in policies that none of us wanted. Isn't that funny? That it doesn't matter if it's the blue team or the red team, you always get the same outcome. Like, what is that all about? So people are getting a bit fed up. Voter turnout is really low. Disenchantment is high. People are on the verge of protesting and going on the streets. So guess what? You get this donkey ass, controlled opposition party come along that says a few things that you like. Too much mass immigration. Don't want this anymore. This is all wrong. Yeah, all good, all good. Never ever says who brought the mass migration in, who's actually behind it. Why is it happening? Let's talk about Agenda 2030. Let's talk about all these other climate scams, net zero, the supranational bodies. No, we're never going to go anywhere there. It's all going to be just focus on a bit of mass migration, bad Muslims, all that kind of stuff. And then again, what they're doing is, imagine someone's at Las Vegas in a casino betting, and they've given up. They've only got one chip left. They're fed up. They've stood up. They're about to walk away. Now the Reform Party is like a good-looking girl who's got a glass of whiskey and she's got like 5 chips, and she's like, "No, stay at the table.
Yeah,
keep one more. Just keep going for it." And the guy goes,
"This time it'll be different. This time it'll be different," and it never is, right? But it can be different. I would love to go back to the Constitution, because I think you're absolutely right about the Constitution of the United States of America. But there's an important caveat there. If we were to go back, I probably would have been an anti-federalist. Now that I look back, I do believe that, and I like I think the Constitution is an inspired document, that it is a brilliant document. I do believe that it consolidated power at the federal level to an extent that allowed it to become as abused as it is today. But the concepts, even in the Constitution of the United States of America, there is a critical phrase. in order to form a more perfect union. So they didn't say a perfect union. They didn't say utopia. They didn't say in order to form heaven on earth. They said in order to form a more perfect union, allowing in that statement for the understanding that there is no perfect document. There is no perfect society. There will never be a perfect society. There is no utopia. It's all you have to do is look back to 5,000 years of human history, and you will see that this cycle that we are engaged in today repeats over and over and over. Humanity never changes. Technology does. And we like to think that the new technology is going to change everything. And this is the big lie of the techno-fascists. That the techno-fascists are now coming in and saying, you know what, the scientists are going to figure this all out. You people tried it, humans tried it, now the machines are going to do it. And the machines will vote for you. We will have so much information about you that we have collected and processed through our Manhattan-sized data processing centers built by Mark Zuckerberg that you won't even have to go to the voting booth to vote. We're going to know how to vote, and we're going to vote for you. The machine, the AI machine, is going to determine who our leaders and elected officials are. And at some point, we won't even need to have elections anymore. That's Curtis Yarvin. He is the guru, the techno-fascist, influencing Peter Thiel, J.D. Vance, Donald Trump, and all the Western leaders across the globe who are looking to lock us down again in a techno-fascist digital prison. That's what's happening right now. That's a danger right now. And they are moving very, very quickly. But that Constitution, in its brilliance, allowed ways for we the people to revolt. They said it is, the Declaration of Independence, even more brilliant than the Constitution of the United States of America. The Declaration of Independence, that's the document that every American and European should be reading right now. And you should read it 5 times over and underline it, because the Declaration of Independence said it was a breakup letter. That's what it was. It was pissed off people. They knew that the British Crown was lying to them, abusing them, manipulating them, killing them, stealing from them. And they organized together from the bottom up. And they said, you know what? We're going to air our grievances. You did this, that, and they lay down very specifically what the abuses that the government was levying upon the people. And they said, you know what? You might be king, but God is a much higher king. There is a much higher power, and that's a natural God. And we have natural rights. Humans have natural rights, and we are going to seize them. And so we're going to throw off this government. We are going to revolt. And they did. Now, revolt back in the 1700s, late 1600s, 1700s, was muskets and cannons and guns and, the revolution. Revolt today is going to be very different. It's going to be you and I, and as many people as we can gather around us, just saying no. I'm not going to take your digital currency. I'm not going to make those false choices. I'm not going to allow you to inject me with poison. I'm not going to get on to the digital currency. I will not accept your ID. All the things. We're going to have a lot of choices moving forward. And the most beautiful part about this is that we don't need to convince everyone. Going back to the Revolutionary War, America, pre-America was divided. Right? So, 40% of the Americans were for the British Crown. The other, 40% or 50% were for the colonists and revolution. And it was really about probably less than 10% of the people in the U.S. that managed the organization, that actively resisted, and even fewer that actually even participated in the war. It was less than 3% that actually fought in a battle, right? So killing is happening. I mean, they are the slaughter of the American people is happening in hospitals. It's happening at the point of a needle. It's happening through poisoning and, absolutely destroying fertility. And we've seen that in so many studies coming out. So that's how they're slaughtering. They're not, there's not bloodshed in the street, but the violence is happening nonetheless. So 100%. The resistance to that is not, people talk about, oh, we got to get our guns and all. No, the resistance is standing up and saying no and influencing other people to do that. The entire thing crumbles when we don't buy their narratives. That's when it all crumbles. And the fact that they keep having to trot out new independent reform parties, like in the UK, and they have to drag up these people, they keep cycling through their front-facing actors. At some point, they run out of them. And they are running out of them right now. So we're actually at an unbelievable moment in history where I think we can win. I think the truth can win, and then they'll try to hide it again. But I think that we are at a moment where we could, and this is my prayer, I just want to secure liberty for as long as I can for my kids.
Yeah.
Maybe 50 more years. And then they're going to have to fight for their own liberty. They're going to have to pick up that mantle. And then their grandkids are going to have to pick up that mantle. All we can do today is cling to the truth and fight for justice and see if we can't eke out another 50 years for our kids. And I think that's the story.
Hi, everybody. Sorry for the interruption. I don't know why I'm saying sorry. It's my podcast, and I need to advertise my consultation service. As you know, folks, I don't have any sponsors. How many big podcasts do you know of that don't have any sponsors? I'm supported by you, the tiny percentage who subscribe to my Substack or my Spotify paid channel. So to those few of you, I just want to say thank you so much. I love you. And hopefully the ones of you who are listening for free, you're still helping by rating the show 5 stars and spreading it on your social media far and wide, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, your WhatsApp groups or whatever. Please introduce them to my podcast. Hopefully some of them will subscribe to my channel. But I also want to take this opportunity to talk about my one-to-one consultation service I'm offering. Now, I'm not acting as your doctor or diagnosing and treating you, in which case some of you might be thinking, well, what the heck are you doing? What kind of consultation is this? Folks, if only you knew, I'm about advocating for your healthcare needs. I'm about educating you, empowering you, helping you navigate the minefield that's the sick care system. I'm helping you ask the right questions from your doctor, to get the best out of your consultation, to answer your unanswered questions, and to give you a second opinion, and so much more. I can prepare you for surgery. I can give you alternative views on different treatments. I can introduce you to other healthcare practitioners. But listen, enough of what I'm saying. Let's look at 2 reviews from today. There's Matt. I've learned so much from Doc Malik by listening to his podcast interviews. I felt he could help me with my personal health and well-being during a stressful time in my life, and he didn't disappoint. He offered me some great advice concerning a wide range of things, including diet, lifestyle, sleep, physical activity, and trauma, and he also guided me to other sources of help. He is a fountain of wisdom with a massive heart and has stepped up to help people properly in the way that your typical doctor does not. Thank you, Doc. Well, no, thank you, Matt, for a lovely review. And then secondly, Eloise. Not only does this man have what appears to me an incredible depth and breadth of true knowledge, he has the biggest heart. I felt so genuinely cared for around sensitive health issues that I may not ordinarily wish to speak about. A consultation is a trusted, safe space which was essential for me as I've tried everything under the sun and I'm aware of my own blocks. This straight-talking, caring approach ensures you leave the consultation with a no-nonsense, clear plan on what's important to change, how to go about it, and recommendations of other specialists in the field where Doc Malik believes you would benefit from. He is considerate of costs, so offers multiple ways to go about protocols to get the best for you without spending a fortune unnecessarily. The mental relief I got from this consultation was in fact priceless. So there you go, folks. Don't take it from me. If this resonates with you, check out my website, docmalik.com/consultations. Have a look. And if you think that, there's a calling there, book a consultation with me. Right, folks. back to the show. Thank you for taking time to listen. I love you loads, so much. And honestly, for the recent listeners who've left Apple reviews and 5-star ratings on Spotify, I see you. I see what you've done, and I'm very grateful. Thank you, folks. God bless. Bye-bye. Yeah, amen. I love the way you took me from West Asia to continental USA and back in time. Well done. You know, the funny thing is, I've looked into it. There was quite a lot of Freemasons who signed the Declaration of Independence and wrote the Constitution. And I think while they were a minority, they were the fifth column. And you can see it even in the design of Washington, D.C., the grid system, the obelisk, the all-seeing eye, the pyramid. And I don't trust Freemasons. I'm sorry. They're serving other masters. Any secret organization is not cool. And I think right from the beginning, elements within America and the founding fathers were sowing the seeds of destruction. And I think, there were some founding fathers who were warning against it. Like Andrew Jackson. I mean, he's like one of my favorites. I think he was just brilliant. And he was, fighting against the central bank, the Bank of America at the time. That was what it was called. And now it's called the Federal Reserve. But like, I think even the idea of why the Civil War, the War of Independence happened, like this idea that it was all about tea tax is nonsense. No. It was all like the states themselves were issuing their own currency and trading. Yep. And then the UK was like putting tax levies, but they were insisting that they pay it in pounds. And then they would have to buy bonds, and they were being, because of the way the financial transaction, all the states were going to be indebted and enslaved financially to the UK. And they're like, look, we're rich colonies, we're rich states, we've got our own currency and economy. We don't need to do this. Like, why are we being enslaved in this financial system? And just like today, individuals are enslaved through taxation, and which saps our energy and destroys our creativity and our ability to just enjoy life. The states were being crippled financially through taxation by the City of London and whoever is owning that. Whether it's the monarchy and other bankers and families, but the City of London had a chokehold on all the states in America, and it got to a point where the rich people in America, who aren't necessarily on our side, but the rich people in America were like, "Why are we dealing with this? Why are the rich people in London screwing us over? We can do this on our own." So they weren't necessarily the friends of Joe Blog and people in the bottom like you and me, right? But they were like. They were still trying to look out for America and their states.
But the point is, though, you're making my point, though. You're making my point. Because the bad guys, in order to get the people to buy in, they had to acknowledge fundamental natural truths, right? Yeah. And that is how liberty escapes. That's how. So you're right. The guys who pushed the Constitution of the United States of America, and you're right, even with maybe the Declaration of Independence, there are people in that movement with nefarious agendas. Listen, I'm just coming out of the medical freedom movement. And what was built, I mean, I've seen movements from the beginning. I was on street corners for 2 years. I was outside. You couldn't swing a dead cat without hitting me on a corner with a sign protesting something. Okay? The, locking up grandma, the, firing all the healthcare workers, mask mandates, vaccine mandates. We organized, so I've been a part of movements. I was in the anti-Common Core movement in education years ago. So I've been at that granular level. I have watched so many movements and how they start based on truth, justice, what is good and right. And then I see the movements grow. And then the people come in. Then the nefarious actors with agendas, they come in for a variety of reasons, to make money off the movement, to get famous from the movement, to gain power from the movement. And then the big money people come in and they find those people and then they fund them. And then the movement, which was one thing, then becomes the thing that it was built to oppose. And so that's why I am out there right now hammering Bobby Kennedy Jr. and hammering poor Jay Netanyahu, or I'm sorry, Jay Bhattacharya, because, right now that they're in the belly of the beast, we are watching one mRNA shot after another be approved by Bobby Kennedy's FDA. We're looking at the rollout of mRNA, new universal platform vaccines, an accelerated and expanded Operation Warp Speed. Jay Bhattacharya has said that Operation Warp Speed was a great success. Bobby Kennedy Jr. just said on Capitol Hill that Donald Trump should get a Nobel Prize for Operation Warp Speed. They have vowed in paper and in word to expand Operation Warp Speed to create a new next generation vaccine. They said the only reason that Biden's administration failed is because they did not achieve in convincing the American public. So they never were able to get the public to trust the vaccines. And that's what Jay Bhattacharya wrote in his most recent WAPO, Washington Post editorial, that nothing was wrong with the vaccine. He's not convinced that it killed millions of people. And he's not even interested in using the billions of dollars at his disposal through the NIH to even investigate the mechanisms of harm. How many people are injured? How do we save the vaccine injured? Why don't we understand their injuries and invest money in investigating cures for vaccine injury? None of that is happening. And he wrote that out. I would suggest people, if you want to know the agenda, sadly, of the new MAHA medical freedom movement, then just read that Washington Post editorial.
I wrote about it. It's on my Substack.
But just to put a bow on it, so you can see how the right movement in opposition to the British Crown and that organization built, then manipulated by people who want to change it. But in that process, and I say this a lot too, that the process is more important than the outcome sometimes. In that process, very real truths were established and they were laid down in writing on documents. And those documents to this day, we can still refer back to and we can still use to further the cause of liberty. And hopefully we will use the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. By the way, the Constitution allows for us to shred it. That's also in the Constitution, that if it becomes abused, then it is the right and the duty of the people to abolish it, to shred it. And that might be where we are. I don't know where we're going to be going, but we are in historic times right now. We are in unbelievable times.
Yeah. God, listen, I'm not disagreeing with any of that. And and the funny thing is, I don't think the US was independent for long. I think the City of London captured it again. And while it was not openly part of the UK, it then was given, again, the illusion, just like there's an illusion of democracy, the Americans were given the illusion that they were free and independent, when actually the decisions are all being made in London. And, if you read the Committee of 300, it talks about how hundreds of think tanks and research institutes, and meetings and groups are the ones that make the policies. And the policies are made in 10 Downing Street and Washington, D.C., but orders are given out, like from the Royal Institute of International Affairs or whatever it is, by the Council of Foreign Relations.
They'll always be there. Always. They'll always be there, Doc. Yeah. The villains will always be there. They will be there in 50 years, in 100 years, in 300 years, in 500 years. This is, very Shakespearean, right? All the world's a stage. And they're actors. And, we're called to this moment. This is honestly really where I lean on my faith. My biblical faith. I'm a Christian, born again since I was very young. I am not in my theme of not choosing sides. I am no denomination. I'm a biblical Christian. So I have read my Bible back and forth probably 3 or 4 times in multiple versions. And I love my faith community. But I don't see any other way of grappling with this without understanding a larger purpose and a creator, a God creator. I mean, you just look at the majesty and the complexity of the human body and this planet and this ecosystem. And I mean,
agreed.
You cannot deny. It would be like me looking at the Mona Lisa and being, oh yeah, that just snapped into place. Like it just came together.
Randomly.
There's no artist. There's no creator. There's no order to this. There's no purpose. And so again, acknowledging truths that are right in our faces. There is a creator. There is a creator, and people have different versions. I believe in one God, natural God. I believe in Christ as Savior, or as his son, through whom we can be in connection with God. That's just my belief system. I will say that it's the only way that I can manage in this world without sticking my head in the oven and becoming completely despondent. And because and through that faith, though, Doc, what I have found is the further out on a limb that I am with God in faith, the more miracles I see and the more my faith increases. And it has never increased more than during the COVID times, where there was just so much confusion, so much blackness and darkness. And so I'm very honest about my faith. Like I don't proselytize on my show. It's a news show. And I don't do this often. But I will say that when you realize the power of natural God, when you're in alignment, when you are submitted to his plan and his will, and you're allowing him to work, the miracles are unbelievable. And these truths these villains, the people that you're talking about, they are not winning. In worldly terms, they seem to be winning. But I will tell you, they are tormented, tortured, horrifying, vile people on this earth, and they will be judged. There will be a judgment. I do believe that very firmly. In the meantime, there is so much good that we can do, and there is so much to be hopeful about, with the understanding that evil is always going to be there. You know, because I think that's where people get bogged down. They see how bad it is, and then they think, well, there's nothing I can do. They're always going to win. The bad guys are always going to win. Why do I do a podcast? Why do I get up in the morning? Why do I do my job? They're just going to take this and take that and steal this and steal that, and they always win. And that's how they want you to feel. That's the lie. That is the big lie. The truth is, you can get up every day and you can honor the natural God and do the things that you're doing, that I'm doing, and make a difference. They don't want us to think that we can't make a difference.
Agreed. Listen, very quickly, you articulated beautifully the process by which movements can get captured. It's so bizarre, because this morning I had someone in who was one of the original people leading the protests, May 2020 here in London, when there was literally just 20 people up against the police.
Yep.
And he described exactly what you're talking about. There's an organization out there that I don't want to mention that swoops in and takes over the organic movements, is very well funded, very well promoted, got great media, PR team, whatever. And they then take credit for the grassroots activism and then take it over. And then like locusts, once they've cleared out the field, then fly off to the next field and find another cause, another movement, which they hijack, take control over, steer. And, some things you can't talk about, some things you can talk about. So you could talk about lockdowns, but you couldn't talk about vaccines. But we're not going to go there.
Yeah.
And what you described was absolutely perfect. And he was talking about it. He was very frustrated. This was off air. He was like, that organization has got so many members. People are paying money to them. And people just don't realize how dangerous that group is and how damaging it has been to our so-called freedom movement. But you described it perfectly. That is exactly how they will see the people in charge, like, okay, that movement's growing a bit. And I agree with you. There's just, not everyone is captured directly and knowingly. People can be captured unwittingly, unknowingly, and indirectly. And one of the things they look for is, look at that. That person's a bit of a narcissist and a bit of a psychopath and a bit of a self-serving individual, which is all about me. They try and get famous, try and get rich or whatever. Why don't we promote them? Why don't, and then little nudges here and there and here and there. And that person then knows. That person knows. They don't need a script what to talk about and what not to talk about. They know what's going to make them successful and make them money and what topics to push. Because the more they push it, the more attention and success they get. And if they ever go somewhere, then it'll be like So, they're maybe, and that's me being generous. I think there are definitely some people are knowingly and directly controlled, but I think most are actually indirectly controlled.
Yeah, there are all sorts of ways to control a person. Oh, what was it? Have you ever interviewed Courtney Turner?
Yes. Well, no, I've been on her show. But very, very quickly, I think I've been approached too. Someone messaged me, someone quite high profile, and they said, this company wants to give you $20,000 for mentioning ivermectin and some other things. And, it's real, it's genuine. And can I give your details? I went, no, it's okay. You think they're giving me $20,000 to sell ivermectin?
Right.
No, I think they're giving me $20,000 a month to own me. I think that's how it works. I had this big company as well try and suck me in, and they've sucked in a lot of people. Yeah. I haven't gone that way. I just feel like there are ways, and I'm like you, I'm independent, but I survive through just a small, tiny percentage of my listeners becoming paid subscribers.
Yeah. That's been impossible for me. I don't know why. I do have paid subscribers. I do advertise. I take sponsorships. But as a journalist, in order to do that ethically, and again, I've been in media for...
Hi, me again. You're listening to the Doc Malik podcast. This show is 100% independent and fully funded by listeners like yourself. So if you wish to support Ahmed in all that he is doing, then please subscribe to his channel on Spotify or on his Substack, or simply buy him a coffee with one of the donation links which can be found at docmalik.com. Now, let's get back to the show.
25 years at this point, half of that time behind, the scenes in marketing and advertising. And then I got behind the mic 12 years ago. And so I've been able to fund my show through advertising relationships, but I vet my advertisers and, and one of the rules though, is that you disclose the advertiser. So I'm actually a big fan of ivermectin. I'd be happy to read ads for ivermectin, but the audience knows it's a sponsorship. So I'm like, thank you to my sponsor, so-and-so company. Here's where you can get
$20,000.
$20K is a lot. $20K. I'm not getting $20K deals. Now I know they're out there, Doc. I mean, that is a lot.
That cannot be just for selling ivermectin. That's something.
Yeah, no, I can tell. Now I will, to your point, I've lost big deals because of my refusal to take certain positions. And I mean, I was thrown off of my first radio station because of my Trump stance. And then recently I lost a production company because of my Trump stance in, I want to say, what year was that? It was right around when he was gearing up to run for election. They dumped me because I wasn't Trumpy enough. I had a big deal, signed deal for a weekly, fully produced show from a company that you would know, that everyone knows, that built this studio, right? And we were all ready to go, and basically dumped me because I was criticizing Bobby Kennedy Jr. and Trump. This is last year. So I can see when, and everyone is susceptible. Aren't we all side-eyeing each other though? Aren't we? I think it's so funny. I hang out with Naomi Wolf and Sasha and Mary Bowden and I know all the people, and, we laugh about how are you trying to influence me right now? Or are you my handler? Or are you, we're all looking at each other how did you get there? How did you, because we all know that this is happening and that this exists, right? And we're all managing it in different ways. And I think some better than others. I mean, there are influencers out there, to your point, who were the big, Benny Johnson, Tim Pool. I don't know if you know them, Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, and a host of others that were caught taking hundreds of thousands of dollars from
every single time.
Foreign countries, right? Now, the problem is, so just so that we can figure out what is the ethical way to do this and what is the unethical way to do this. Say, for example, an organization from Florida came to me and said, hey, Shannon, we want to pass this bill to ban medical vaccine mandates in the state of Florida. And we put this organization together and we've raised all of this money and we're pushing for this bill. Here's the bill. Here's our agenda. We would like to pay you $5,000 to promote this for us. Okay. So that's the ask, right? A manipulative way of taking that money and working with that organization would be to take the $5,000 and then just organically talk about it on your show. Like, I believe in this, right? That's way more manipulative, but way more believable to the audience than if you were to say, hey guys, we have a sponsor. This organization is sponsoring the Shannon Joy Show. They're paying me, right? They're a paying advertising client. But I really love their agenda. I feel very comfortable talking about this. I've read the bill and I think that they should pass this in Florida, right? That would be, now I don't take that kind of money. I don't take political money. I don't take money from politicians. I don't take money from super PACs or lobbyists. I can't see myself ever actually taking that money and even doing that. But that would be the ethical way to do it. But what these influencers are doing and what the major networks are doing, like Fox News, and I would imagine Fox, The Blaze, Daily Wire, all of the big networks, I would imagine probably Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, that there are deals, there are things in the back that in financing and funding that we do not know about that they don't disclose. That it's not, the ads that you see I don't think are the only thing that are manipulating their coverage. Yes. But the influencers 100 times. All you have to do when the white bind, the Epstein binders, right? Those people up there on Capitol Hill waving around binders, okay? Fake empty binders. It was a psyop, it was propaganda. Okay, well, why were they there? You could very easily discern that they were there because they were paid to be there. But they certainly did not tell their audiences that Trump or MAGA Inc. or a subsidiary of, or a super PAC for, or a think tank in connection with, paid me to do this, right? And that's how they do it. It's like one organization after another after another. And it's even hard. I mean, it's hard to know. It's hard. I can tell you, like, I do as much research as I can on my sponsors, but it's hard to know. I've developed some good relationships, but that's the only way I could keep the show going. There's no other income coming in, really. I mean, I love my audience, but they don't send me money. I mean, I have a few that send donations, but
it's hard.
People expect free content. That's the thing. They think that this just happens every day. It doesn't.
Shannon, people expect free consultations from me, so to help supplement. And the truth is, I hate going out with the begging bowl. And saying to people,
I won't do it.
Please subscribe. I do. I have a little wee ad. Please subscribe to my Substack and please support the show, because that's my ad basically. And oh God, I just thought I need to supplement my income because Substack's playing funny games and I'm losing supporters and stuff, and I just don't know what's going on. So, but now I get people emailing, oh, can you just do a free consultation? I'm like, no, who do you know that works for free? Like, seriously. No, and you talked about this right at the beginning. The enemy is so well armed, funded. They've got numbers, like people, teams. Like, you're a one woman band. I'm a one man band. Like we don't, like, I've got my cat here. Like, that's it. That's all I've got. Is that a
boy or a girl?
Girl. And she loves me and I love her. Sweet.
I love I have a tripod kitty, buddy. He's my heart and soul. It's horrifying. I mean, I'll tell you the story one day. It involved the neighbor's pit bull. And, but he's such a survivor. He's such a sweet thing, my little buddy. I love cats. Love, love, love cats.
Okay. Very, very quickly, because we've only got about 10, 15 minutes left. I want to quickly ask you something. Like, look, a lot of people keep saying to me, lay off Trump. He's doing a lot of good work. He's doing so much good work. He's stopping the migrants. He's blah, 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 and doing this and doing that. Is he? Like,
No, he's running a brilliant strategic marketing campaign with PSYOPs. All you have to look to is the Jeffrey Epstein binders.
What do you mean by
We're
that?
going to get Epstein. We're going to open up the books. We're going to go after the perpetrators. We are going to get justice, right? Like that has been his mantra and his surrogates' mantras.
But Kash Patel said there's nothing there, so I believe him, especially with that cross-eyed look that he's got and the honeypot girlfriend. Absolutely, I believe Kash.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that looked like a hostage video for sure. And it's just so obvious. So what they do is they do fake things like the binders. And they dominate the news cycle. So Benny Johnson and Tim Pool and all of the dancing clowns go out there and they tweet and they fawn and they lie to their audiences, but they're getting paid very well. And they've done that. They've really done that in every aspect. The economy is a disaster. It's a disaster. Inflation is. I'm living it. I see. Going back to like, what is your lived experience? I always test what the narrative is saying to me versus what I actually see. And I'll tell you what I don't see. I don't see like roving Muslim gangs of bandits running around murdering and raping women. I don't see that anywhere. In the city of Rochester or in my village or any of my neighboring villages, I mean, it's just not there. I don't see roves of illegal gangs going in and burning things and it happens. There is crime. That's a real thing. But what they're doing is they're using these narratives. They're using these political footballs in order to justify the erection of the digital prison. And that is the story about the Trump administration. It is his willful handing over of this nation, our governing institutions, and our people to the tech fascists. And they are absolutely obliterating our natural rights in violation of the Constitution every single day. I mean, it is the velocity for those, if you're looking for really great resources on the techno-fascists. I don't call it technocracy anymore. I call them techno-fascists because that is a better term to describe them. They don't believe in democracy. They don't believe in our Constitution. They don't believe in freedom. They don't believe in natural rights. They don't believe in justice or fairness or any type of truth. They believe that they should own everything on this planet. They look at the population of humans as a herd to be culled at any moment. So it really is the epitome of a slavery-minded philosophy with technocracy.
I love this tweet, by the way. Rapid, blatant repetition of lies, constant hypocrisy, and flip-flopping are classic features of a malignant sociopath. You're being overwhelmed, confused, and paralyzed on purpose. Trump is the master. Yeah. And you mentioned earlier that there's a war going on in America. So I'm reading the book, Committee of 300. It was like written 1990 or something. Right. It talks about everything. The war started 20 years before that, or 30 years, like in the 1960s. They wanted the fertility rate to go down. They wanted to deindustrialize the West. They didn't want any industries in America and Britain left. It was all going to be exported over to the East. They wanted to create confusion in society and disillusionment of the citizens. Haven't they done that? They wanted us all infighting. And they wanted to impoverish us. This is a war. And if you look at abortions, 1 million are killed every year in the States, 250,000 here in the UK. Is that not mass murder? Absolutely. So, you got abortions, you've got the fertility rates dropping, you got the democide, the genocide, whatever you want to call it, by our governments against us, the poison jabs. Every which way you look, they're destroying. It's a controlled demolition of the West. They're getting exactly what they fracking wanted. And these people claim to be the patriots and our politicians and serving our interests when they're treasonous bastards, frankly.
Listen, you're not going to get any argument from me. Trump is, when I say malignant,
I wasn't talking just about Trump. I'm talking about stretching back.
But
decades.
He is unique, though. He is unique. I mean, as a front. his willingness to lie and humiliate and just crush, like his disregard for truth is epic.
Yeah.
I mean, there are front-facing actors, politicians, right? That we you know, Trudeau, Netanyahu, you know, we've had our share, you know, Obama, we've had the Bushes. I mean, right? Like, no one has been able to deceive as masterfully as Donald Trump. I've never, it's not a good thing. I mean, it is breathtaking for me to witness how quickly he moves. But it's also hard to know how much power he really has over MAGA, because MAGA in and of itself, I think, is much of an illusion. I think it's bots and trolls. It's sophisticated propaganda with front-facing people and in pockets of organization. But when you talk to regular people, they're not as, you know, but again, he is furthering the Agenda 2030, the techno-fascist agenda, the global domination agenda, you know, whatever you want to call it. He is lockstep in support and very deceptively pushing it through. The interesting thing is, though, he hardly even has to deceive anymore. Like, he literally sat down with Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates with like double-barreled middle finger right to his base. He's basically saying F you. He's putting his base through a humiliation ritual. It says to them, I'm lying to you. You know I'm lying to you. I know I'm lying to you. It is right in your face. I'm switching sides every day, and you have no power, none whatsoever. And it's like he's shoving their faces in it. That was the Jeffrey Epstein flip-flop was unbelievable. And so when you get a person or a movement in that type of subservient, groveling position where they don't think anymore, they don't think, they just worship. They just worship Trump, Trump, Trump.
I know.
It's truly extraordinary to watch.
And that's why, you know, it really is. And all the people who are Christians say, I'm a Christ, I'm a believer in Jesus. I'm like, well, you sound like you're worshiping Trump. Like it's blasphemy as far as I'm concerned.
It is.
Like it's just too much. And it's also a combination of Stockholm syndrome and whatever. People, the abused are just worshiping their abuser now. But anyway, let's move on a little bit. Look, you know what, can I be honest with you? If I was President of America or Prime Minister of the UK, I'd sort everything out, like 95% of things in like half a day. I would exit the UN, I would exit the WHO, I would exit the NATO. I would basically have a I'd be a neutral, say I was a neutral country. I wouldn't go interfering in other countries anymore. I would use my military to actually protect the borders. I would turn back the boats and all the illegals. I would deport them. Fuck the human rights and everything. Like, you're an illegal. You don't have any fucking rights here. Get out of here. Like, who you might be a criminal, you might be anything. I don't know who you are. I don't know. Right. I don't like the fact that George Soros and the Open Foundation have brought you over here, or the UN have brought you over. Fuck off. Get lost. Yeah. You know, I would clean up the infrastructure. I would decentralize everything. I would definitely be all in for surveillance of the politicians. Yeah. Everyone who's a politician, all their surveillance, 24 fucking 7 hours a day surveillance, publicly available. So you can log on to the internet. You can see exactly what they're emailing, what their phone calls are. You can see where they're living, who they're visiting, everything would be there. If you're a politician, you get the 24-hour surveillance. Like, that's just happening, right? Yep. And I would like decentralize everything. I'd get rid of 90% of politicians. All policies would have to go through a national voting system. So, like, if you want to put forward a policy, it has to be done by the people. If you want to pass it, it has to be by public approval. And you know what? It'd be limited to like literally 4 a year. Like, the agenda is limited, because nothing warrants lots of policies. Like, we don't need loads of legislation and red tape. We need we need less. It'd all be community and local based, 100%,
governance. 100%. Yeah.
I would get rid of their fiat system. I would be like, you know what? Let's have 3-4 different currencies that are completely independent, that are backed by gold or silver or whatever. And like tax, fuck tax. We'll get that right down to the bottom, because you know what? We don't have this bloated government machinery anymore. Like, you know what? You can keep, instead of taxing you 90% of your income for your lifetime, I'm going to give you back 90% of your earnings. There you go. Now you don't need to work 7 days a week. You don't even need both partners to work. You know, the guy could be off, the wife could be off. You can just chillax and spend time with your family and be creative and live happily. Like, can you imagine how nice life would be like that? Like, and I'm going to take the money away from the bankers. Fuck you. You know, like, if there's going to be any money or currency, it's the people own it, not the government.
Not like for president. See, the problem is problem is getting to it, right? Like, they build so many barriers for good ideas, ideas.
And then they say it's complicated. No, but it's really complicated. So complicated. It's really not, Shannon.
It's not. Simplicity, simplicity. I think that's a lesson, when anything that is overly complex, purposefully complex is a hint. That's a hint that, you're getting sold a bill of goods. But, you and I are the kind of exact same person. I don't know that I have ever done an interview with someone as aligned with me as you are. Like that little soliloquy that you mentioned, or is that a soliloquy?
I have no idea. I don't know either. See, we're both still in alignment. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
You got better hair than me though. But anyway.
Well,
listen. I need to pick up the kids soon. Listen, do me a favor. You're going to come back in December. I'm going to come back on your show. You're going to come back in December.
Yeah.
Finally, we got this done. Like, you have delivered. You're amazing. I love you. Like, seriously. You're just perfect. Like,
no, I'm halfway through this interview. I'm like, wow, I really like this guy. Like, I just really like our conversations. Maybe it's just because we agree with each other on everything. But, this is a nuanced conversation that it was great, and you're great. And I'm a big fan, as you know. And yes, I will come on in December, and Likewise. I would like to collaborate with you more. You're excellent. And let's just make it happen. Okay.
All right. Last question of the day. Right. This is the signature question. So listen, you're on your deathbed. You're about to meet your creator. You're surrounded by your loved ones, your family, your children. Before you pass on and meet your maker, what words of wisdom and advice would you give them?
Oh, I would. I mean, that's pretty simple. Just seek God, submit to Him, and seek Him, and He'll reveal Himself. He'll protect you. You will have power. But, I see so many people just rage against our natural God. And it makes life so difficult it makes life hard. So yeah, I mean, that's my number one. I look at myself and, first and foremost with my kids, to be, a sharer of my faith. And so, yeah, I think that's what I would tell them. Cling to Him, seek Him, cling to Him, and accept His power. He will take you on an extraordinary, not easy, but an extraordinary ride in this life. And you will sleep like a baby at night. You can look yourself in the mirror. The closer you are aligned with Him, the more that you can do. And so that's what I would say to my kids.
I, Ahmed Malik, am a private civilian protected by the Geneva Convention. My Substack, social media posts, and podcasts are my personal experiences, observations, and opinions. This information is for educational purposes only. Although I am a doctor, I am not your doctor, and I am not providing medical or legal advice to you or to the wider public. I am not licensed or registered with the GMC or any other licensing board. The responsibility for the interpretation, due diligence, and use of the information from my Substack and my podcast lies with you, the viewer and/or listener. Please do your research and use your discernment. It is not my intention to harass, intimidate, offend, defame, conspire, blackmail, coerce, or cause anxiety, alarm, or distress to any man or woman, and the information presented here is done so with peaceful and honourable intentions. Enjoy, folks.